To mark the 10th anniversary of the Zoo Files, I wanted to share some of my favorite stories in this special edition of the Zoo Files. Here at the North Carolina Zoo, we exhibit animals from both North America and Africa. But nothing can be more exciting than to be on safari in Africa and see these animals roaming wild in their natural habitats. Recently, 4 North Carolina school teachers traveled to Uganda, East Africa as part of an educational exchange program developed by the North Carolina Zoo called UNITE, Uganda and North Carolina International Teaching for the Environment. In addition to conducting conservation education workshops for teachers and students at several schools, the group also visited some of Uganda's national parks to see the native wildlife. These excursions included a visit to the Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in southwest Uganda, a mountainous rainforest that's home to nearly half of all the remaining 700 mountain gorillas.
We are tracking a group called Rushegura. It is a group that has 11 members with some 3 young babies and 1 big man, the head of the family.
On a wildlife experience scale of 1 to 10, this is an 11. After following our guide Paul for more than an hour, we're in the presence of perhaps the world's most endangered mammal, the mountain gorilla.
All the leaves have been eaten off by the gorillas. I want you to look at the nests. So they all slept around this. And usually the silverback sleeps on one side where they entered from. And this is for protection.
For the Zoo Files crew and our North Carolina teachers, this had to be our most exciting Uganda adventure. To learn more about Uganda's wildlife and the teacher exchange program that brought us here, please visit our educational website at fieldtripearth.org. Reporting from the Bwindi National Park, for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. While traveling on a conservation education exchange program in Uganda sponsored by the North Carolina Zoo, we had the opportunity to visit the Kibale National Park, one of Uganda's largest game reserves. The highlight of the Kibale visit was the chance to track wild chimpanzees, one of the largest troops of these endangered great apes remaining in Uganda. Moses Chilibe, a warden with the Uganda Wildlife Service, tells us more about the chimps of Kibale and the reasons for taking tourists to see them.
We have over 80 individuals in this group, which is the biggest group ever in the world. And so far we have 65 named chimpanzees. You go early in the morning, when they are coming out of nests, you follow them all through the day, through the forest, through the woods, until they get to their nests. They experience the daily lifestyle of chimpanzees. They always love seeing them in the free environment. And so they like the experience of seeing the chimps do their day-to-day activities, like grooming, hunting, feeding, patrolling their home range. Generally, the chimp population in Uganda is going up. And the survey that we've just completed now puts the chimpanzees in Kibale National Park to 1,420. So which means the population is rising. So many tourists are now coming in, and so many people are benefiting from tourism. So the economy, I would think, is being boosted in this way.
Like the chimpanzee exhibit back at the North Carolina Zoo, the purpose of the chimp trekking program at Kibale is to help people gain a greater appreciation for these endangered great apes and the need to preserve them. If you'd like to learn more about Uganda's wildlife or the teacher exchange program that brought us here, please visit our educational website at fieldtripearth.org. Reporting from Uganda for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. While the animals are usually the stars of the Zoo Files, some of our most compelling stories have been about the people behind the scenes. First opened to the public in 1974, the North Carolina Zoo has recorded a pretty impressive history over the past 30 years, both in the growth of its animal collections and exhibits, as well as the development of its staff. Some of the members of the zoo's animal division have been here since the park's earliest days, and one of those is senior elephant keeper Jim Small, who's remained devoted to these giant pachyderms from his first day on the job to the present. Small recalls his early days as a keeper and how the zoo's elephant collection, management styles, and exhibits have continued to change and evolve over the years.
I started to work here at the North Carolina Zoo October 1st, 1976.
We got Cesar in June of 1978. Cesar was about 4.5 feet tall, and was probably about 4 years old. He was really gracious and real forgiving working with us. When we got Cesar, the management system in zoos was like that of a circus. You would go into this space with the elephant. That was called free contact. Now we have protected contact, which means we don't occupy the same space that the elephant does unless he's restrained in some way. The main difference in protected contact and free contact is in protected contact, the elephant has a choice. We have plans to build a totally new barn, 5,800 square foot barn, be able to increase our elephant herd to about 4 to 6 females. We'll still have Cesar and maybe even another bull. But it's kind of a full circle thing. When I started, he was basically a baby, and the other little ones were babies, and hopefully now we can complete that life cycle and have babies here and have second generation elephants here at the North Carolina Zoo. While Jim Small recalls the early days of the zoo with fond memories, he's much more excited about the future and the plans to expand the elephant exhibit and the herd. If you'd like to learn more about the Elephant Expansion Project, please visit our website at nczoo.org. Reporting for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. When most people hear the term zoo, they immediately think of animals. But the North Carolina Zoo is also home to one of the largest plant collections in the Southeast, with more than 30,000 tropical and exotic plants on display. It takes a horticulture staff of more than 40 people to take care of this extensive collection, and one of those staffers has a unique story. Christopher Saka has been working in zoos and theme parks for 8 years and recently was named a certified plant professional by the North Carolina Nurserymen's Association. And Chris has reached the height of his profession despite a major handicap. He's legally blind.
I was born with glaucoma, which is a disease that affects the nerves of the eyes. My vision is 2400 corrected, which would equate to looking through frosted glass. I've always been interested in plants. I attended the University of Florida, where I earned a bachelor's degree in horticulture science. After I graduated, I worked at Disney. After that, I came to work at the North Carolina Zoo, where I work in the arbor department. When I identify plants, often I'll use my sense of touch or my sense of smell to identify the plant. In the future, I'd like to assume more of a leadership role in horticulture. I would like to teach children about the environment. I feel that it is crucial that they understand the value of our natural resources. Everyone has obstacles they have to overcome to achieve their goals, and I hope this is an example to everybody out there that any disability, whether it be sight, hearing, or any other handicap, can be overcome to achieve whatever you dream.
Christopher Saka is a great example of how a determined individual can attain their goals despite being physically challenged. If you'd like to learn more about the zoo's plant collections or the people who take care of them, please visit our website at nczoo.org. Reporting for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. Over the years on the Zoo Files, we've done a number of stories on operant conditioning, a tool used by keepers at the North Carolina Zoo that uses positive reinforcement to train animals to perform certain behaviors that make providing their care easier and more fun for both animals and trainers. Recently, we learned about a young zookeeper who's carried operant conditioning to a whole new level. Kelly Wright has actually trained one of the zoo's grizzly bears to get his teeth brushed. It's a grisly job that only a dentist or a dedicated zookeeper could love.
Mom? Say. Good. Yapani has very bad teeth. He had a root canal, he fractured a tooth, and it just helps with the oral hygiene and the daily upkeep of his teeth. But we can also look inside his oral cavity, check his tongue, his gums, and the rest of his mouth. I got him to hold his mouth open for a very long period of time. So we went from there, introducing the toothbrush at first, and then after he got used to the toothbrush, we went ahead and introduced toothpaste, which was beef flavored, which he loved. He's very food motivated, so he didn't mind having a toothbrush on his tooth as long as he got an apple or a grape. He chooses to let me do it. If he doesn't feel like having his teeth brushed that day, he doesn't have to. It's all up to him. He's very intelligent. It is a behavior that I'm pretty proud of.
Brushing a grizzly bear's teeth. You never know what these zookeepers are going to come up with next. But it's all part of the effort to provide the very best care for our animals here at the North Carolina Zoo. If you'd like to learn more, check out our website at nczoo.org. I'm Rod Hackney for the Zoo Files, connecting your life to wildlife. In the aftermath of America's war on terrorism and the military action in Iraq, most of the public institutions in the Iraqi capital of Baghdad were devastated, both physically and financially, none more so than the Baghdad Zoo. Led by the North Carolina Zoo, the American Zoo and Aquarium Association launched an effort to provide care for the Baghdad Zoo animals and to help rebuild the zoo. One of the people who helped coordinate that effort was a 28-year-old Iraqi vet named Farah Murani. Now on a 6-month training visit with the veterinary staff here at the North Carolina Zoo, Murani recalls her life in Iraq and the monumental task of rebuilding a zoo from ruins.
After the war, the zoo condition was terrible. It was like, there's nothing. It was only the big cats that they couldn't take. They took everything else other than that, birds, primates, mammals, everything. How can you get a zoo out of that? But we managed. We got it up and running with the help of the U.S. authority, and with the soldiers helped us a lot. We do have over 100 animals. I established medical records for the animals, which they didn't have before. We've been in contact with Dr. David Jones, the director of the North Carolina Zoo. He put us in touch with the veterinary people here, and that was a great opportunity for me. I'm learning a lot of things in the day, which is why I'm here in the first place. People are so willing to help. I'm really hoping to go back to Iraq as soon as I can, help the Baghdad Zoo as much as I can, and hopefully things will get better by the time I'm ready to go back home.
With the help of American zoos and the hard work of people like Farah Murani, the Baghdad Zoo is on the road to recovery. If you'd like to learn more about the Baghdad Zoo effort, please visit the North Carolina Zoo Society's website at nczoo.com. Reporting for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. The North Carolina Zoo is involved in a number of programs to save endangered species, and some of those are located off zoo grounds. Several years ago, the Zoo Files introduced you to Mike Lubbock, a British conservationist who's established North America's premier facility for the breeding of rare and endangered waterfowl in the eastern North Carolina town of Scotland Neck. With more than 2,500 birds representing 170 species, Lubbock's Sylvan Heights Waterfowl Center is home to the world's largest breeding collection of endangered ducks, geese, and swans. We've returned to Sylvan Heights to see how the operation is faring and to learn about Lubbock's exciting plans for the future.
The Sylvan Heights operation here in Scotland Neck has been here for 16 years. For what we need with these waterfowl, it was an ideal situation. And it's the largest breeding facility in North America. And we have something like 160 species. The waterfowl occur all over the world, and a lot of them are in dire straits. We really concentrate on a lot of endangered species, though some of the commoner species also are vulnerable in certain areas, so we concentrate on those too. And it's been fairly successful so far. We've brought in some Bernier's teal, or Madagascan teal, which are very, very rare in the wild. In Madagascar there are probably 70 to 80 left. And we actually bred them for the very first time this year, and we've got a couple of youngsters already, so we're rather proud about that. So happens that there's a lot of water in the world and a lot of waterfowl, but they are dying out. And I just think for next generations to come, it would be so sad if there wasn't very much for them to see. If I can get it across to 3 children, we've gained something. If the birds die out and the areas die out, so we're going to die out. I mean, it all goes hand in hand, and we've got to get that lesson across, and we're hoping we can do it.
In an upcoming Zoo Files report, we'll tell you more about Mike Lubbock's plans to open his facilities and his extraordinary waterfowl collection to the public. Meanwhile, if you'd like to learn more, please visit the NC Zoo Society's website at nczoo.com. I'm Rod Hackney reporting for the Zoo Files. This is North Pelican Island, one of 4 islands in the mouth of the Cape Fear River south of Wilmington that serve as the most significant nesting sites for water birds in North Carolina. These 4 islands are preserved and protected as bird sanctuaries by the North Carolina Office of the National Audubon Society and the North Carolina Wildlife Commission. Walker Golder, Deputy Director of the North Carolina Office of the Audubon Society, tells us more about these delicate waterbird rookeries.
These islands support about 25% of all the brown pelicans that we have in the state, about 95% of all the white ibises that we have in the state. They're hard for people to get to, so human disturbance is very low. The other thing that we have in the lower Cape Fear River system is an abundant food supply, and you can't have good nesting sites for these birds without an adjacent and abundant food supply. That's what these birds need to raise their youngsters. The brown pelicans are doing really well in the state. They were once federally listed as endangered, but they've been removed from the endangered species list because their populations have bounced back. When we monitor the nesting success of these birds, how many eggs are they producing? How many of those eggs are hatching? How many chicks are they raising? We can tell an awful lot about the health of this lower river system by looking at the success of these birds, because their success reflects the health of the river. It's important that these islands stay protected so that these birds will be with us for many generations to come.
Just like our Alaskan seabird exhibit back at the North Carolina Zoo, the message here on Pelican Island is that these birds serve as an indicator species for the well-being of the entire marine ecosystem. You can learn more about them on the Audubon website at ncaudubon.org. Reporting for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. Sometimes the smallest of creatures can make the biggest difference in our world. The newest addition to the animal collection at the North Carolina Zoo may be small in size, but they certainly aren't hard to spot. The vibrant colors of these poison dart frogs have made them an instant hit with visitors during their first few weeks on exhibit. 3 dozen of these tropical frogs, native to the jungles of Central and South America, have taken up residence in the R.J. Reynolds Forest Aviary. Animal Management Supervisor Laura Valadez tells us more about these frogs and why the zoo has chosen to feature them in the aviary.
We have 3 species of poison dart frogs. One is a blue, obviously as the name implies. It's a very pretty blue and black frog. We also have a bumblebee. The bumblebee is black with yellow stripes. And we have a dying poison frog, which is blue and it's got blue legs and black body. The 4th species is a Panama golden frog. They're actually an endangered species. We have 2 new exhibits. They have misting systems built in, streams and waterways built in. There's actually a worldwide amphibian crisis going on right now. All amphibians are really an indicator species for the ecosystems that they live in. They're very sensitive to water quality problems. In addition, they function kind of like a canary in the coal mine, where they give us the indication that there is a problem in the environment. So if the world isn't a healthy place for frogs, then it's not going to be a healthy place for humans. The public absolutely loves the new frogs. They're very active, they're very colorful, and the response has just been really positive.
The spectacular colors and unique appearance of the tropical frogs have visitors crowding around their new exhibit. But the frogs also deliver an important message about threats to our environment. If you'd like to learn more about the dart frogs or plan a visit to see them for yourself, please check out our website at nczoo.org. I'm Rod Hackney reporting for the Zoo Files, connecting your life to wildlife. Providing the very best care for all of our animals is the #1 priority here at the North Carolina Zoo. And the soldiers on the front line of that effort are the folks on the zoo's veterinary staff. You know, if you think about it, there's a tremendous difference in providing veterinary care for domestic animals, like cats and dogs, and the wild and exotic animals found here at the North Carolina Zoo. Zoo veterinary care is a highly specialized field, with only about 300 vets in the United States trained in practicing zoo animal medicine. One of the most prestigious training programs for veterinarians in exotic and wild animal medicine is located right here at our zoo. Dr. Mike Loomis, the zoo's chief veterinarian, helped develop the vet residency program with the North Carolina State University College of Veterinary Medicine.
The way we work with exotic animals is different enough than the way people work with domestic animals that it really takes a significant amount of training to be able to learn the techniques that we have to go through, the different anesthetic regimens, some of the restraint techniques, etc. Plus we deal with a wide variety of different species of animals, and it's really difficult for someone to come right out of a veterinary college and be able to effectively treat animals in a situation like a zoo. So we started our training program to really help these people, to train them in how to deliver medical care to these animals. Our program is a 3-year program. We were actually the first 3-year residency program in what we call zoological medicine that was developed in the U.S. We actually have 3 different emphasis areas in our program. We have one general zoological medicine emphasis, we have one in aquatic animals, and then one in free-ranging wildlife. Our program is a joint program between North Carolina State University, College of Veterinary Medicine, and the North Carolina Zoo.
So while the North Carolina Zoo has long been known as one of the world's best natural habitat animal parks, it's also becoming known as a training ground for some of the country's top exotic animal doctors. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website at nczoo.org. Reporting for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. We're all familiar with the old saying that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And anyone who's been involved with raising children knows how that adage applies when it comes to getting kids to take their medications. But in the zoo world, wild and exotic animals can often be more difficult than kids when it comes to taking medicine. So zookeepers and veterinarians have come up with a variety of unusual and even ingenious ways to administer drugs so that the animals often don't even realize they're taking medicine. North Carolina Zoo veterinary technician Paige Wilhoit tells us about some of their methods.
We medicate animals when they're sick or injured with antibiotics. We also do preventative medication. Those things are done to keep them healthy while they're here at the zoo. We have to be able to calculate the dosage according to the animal's size. You want the animal to take the medicine orally, so you've got to present it in a form that's going to be palatable. And we try to incorporate the medication in such a way that we can hide it or disguise it in their diet. Sometimes we take a worm item and we would inject the medicine into them. If it's a carnivore, they would eat a mouse or a rat, we could inject that. We would also take the medicine, we could grind it up, powder it up, mix it into something that has a consistency that would hide the medicine. If you can get the animal to take his medicine willingly and orally, then you don't have to go in and catch the animal, net the animal, use a vaccination dart. So it's just a lot easier on the animal and the keepers both.
These unique methods of medicine delivery help the zoo staff make their jobs easier while keeping the animals healthy. If you'd like to learn more about the zoo's veterinary operations, please check out our website at nczoo.org. I'm Rod Hackney reporting for the Zoo Files, connecting your life to wildlife. Some people believe that the exotic animals like they see at the North Carolina Zoo would make good pets, but that's certainly not the case. However, there is a program that allows you to adopt a zoo animal and help the zoo at the same time. It's a tiger's tail with a different twist. In January of this year, a motorist found these two 8-month-old tiger cubs wandering along a rural road here in North Carolina. After apparently being dumped on the roadside, these potentially dangerous exotics were captured by local animal control officials and brought to the North Carolina Zoo for temporary housing. Zoo Curator of Mammals Lorraine Smith tells us about the fate of the tiger cubs and the ongoing statewide problem with private ownership of dangerous animals.
It's difficult to know if the cubs were abandoned, if they escaped from someone. One thing we do see is as young cubs grow, people often decide that at that point the dietary needs, the housing, the power of the animals, and the danger level escalates. And that's the point at which we often see people asking the zoo for assistance placing them. These cubs were a little younger than what we typically see. It's just really impossible to know how they came to be where they were unless the people responsible for that step forward and let us know. Since the cubs arrived at the zoo, they've been eating and eating and eating. They have gained 35 pounds each. They were both underweight when they arrived at the zoo. The North Carolina Zoo houses only animals from Africa and North America, and tigers are native to Asia. They are not part of our collection plan. We are housing the tigers until the Carnivore Preservation Trust in Pittsboro is able to receive them. The Carnivore Preservation Trust is able to offer a much larger, more spacious facility to house the tiger cubs than the North Carolina Zoo is able to.
Hopefully this tiger tail will have a happy ending when these two cubs take up permanent residence at the Carnivore Preservation Trust. But the problem of private ownership of exotics is still an issue in our state that needs to be addressed. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the American Zoo and Aquarium Association website at aza.org. Reporting for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. You know, our state zoo here in North Carolina is very unique. It's not only one of the largest natural habitat zoos in the world, it's also one of only 2 state-owned zoos in the country. And while 60% of the zoo's operating budget comes from the state, all of its conservation, research, and education programs, and even the animals exhibited at the park, are purchased with private funds raised by the North Carolina Zoological Society. Society membership director Stephanie G. tells us about one ongoing project that directly benefits zoo animals, the Adopt an Animal program.
People want to know how they can become involved in the zoo, and the Adopt an Animal program is a inexpensive and small way that they can make a contribution where they can have a huge impact on the lives of our animals here. They can come visit their animal anytime they would like. When someone becomes an adopt parent through the Adopted Animal Program, their contribution supports the Animal Enrichment Program, which is a vital part of what we do to care for our animals here at the zoo. The Animal Enrichment Program helps give tasty treats to our animals, maybe some of the ice that we provide to our polar bear exhibit. The polar bears are able to come hunt for their fish throughout the ice, and it really just helps for not just the physical well-being of the animal, but the psychological well-being of the animal as well. We have in our lion exhibit, we've put papier-mâché animals where they can feel like they're stalking an actual zebra in their natural habitat in the wild. It helps with keeper training, so if there are special training programs that the keepers want to be a part of, they can come back and relate that to their daily responsibilities here at the zoo. There are 15 animals that are adoptable through the Adopted Animal Program. You can learn about those on our website, or you can call the Zoo Society office.
The support provided by the Zoo Society is essential if the zoo is to continue its important work in wildlife conservation and provide the very best care for its animals. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the Society website at nczoo.com. Reporting for the Zoo Files, I'm Rod Hackney. So there you have some of our favorite zoo files from the past 10 years. We hope you'll check your local listings to see when the Zoo Files airs in your area, as we continue to bring you up close and personal to the animals and people that make the zoo such a special place. On behalf of the entire zoo, I'm Rod Hackney. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we're connecting your life to wildlife.